For those of you who do not know this man, this is Jack Emberly, and that is his lovely wife hiding in the corner, Janice. Jack, I read a story about, and that the men's shed, the Alouette men's shed had posted, and I was like, oh, he sounds very interesting, I need to bring him in. And so I am introducing you to Jack Emberly and his wife Janice.
Hi.
And this...
I take pictures, and I interview people. I used to write a column for the Maple Ridge News. You may have seen it along the Fraser. Anybody? Good. Did that for about 8 years. It's social environmental stuff. And one day when I was down investigating abandoned boats on the Alouette River, there was Chris taking pictures of me. And before I knew it, he made a little video. And he's been doing that ever since with projects that I've been involved in, one or the other, storytelling or investigative reporting on some environmental concern. And then the next thing I know, it's on YouTube. So this eventually may be on YouTube. There's a story that I did at Greystone Manor called Milk from a Bull's Horn, which I hope to do here in October, which is on YouTube. That's pretty neat. It's neat to see these actual stories out there so that people can see them without having to go to an event. I'm very fond of storytelling. I've been doing it for about 40 years. One way or the other, I did it with kids because I taught for a long, long time with special needs kids and problem kids, kids who have problems with school. Told stories to help them see things that they didn't see or they couldn't hear from a teacher, but they could see and hear from a story. And I wanted to ask you, before we get, I'll ask you a question that I asked, and that is, do you have people in your life who listen to you? When you have something you really want to say or get off your chest, is there somebody, a friend, a close friend, or a close relative that you can go to and tell, and just pour it all out, and you know they're going to listen to you? And I don't mean listen to you for a couple of minutes and then have them tell you what their problems are, but listen to you all the way through your concern and reflect and refrain, and, just let you have that time to be heard. Do you have that sort of person in your life?
Very few.
Oh yeah, very few is right, because it's hard. Real listening, which is what my book is about. Can you hold that book up just for a minute? So this is the only commercial, trust me. But this is a book. The stories in this book, some of them are me talking to my car because I couldn't find a friend who would listen long enough to hear the whole thing. Or they're also about a 10-year-old boy's story about his father, who is a real good listener. He is what you call an active listener. He focuses on you, and he listens to you, and he makes you understand that he hears what you're saying to him. And they're going on a trip with an old car that could break down and die at any moment. And whether that car will make it through the whole trip is suspenseful. But all along the way, these two adults on this boy listen to people on the road that they see actively. So it's about active listening. So I want to sort of illustrate at the very beginning, because we'll be doing a lot of listening, what the components of active listening are. So here's a poem. It's written by a fellow, Golub. I tried to find out more about this guy and I could not. But this is the poem about listening. It's called Listen. When I ask you to listen and you start giving me advice, you have not done what I asked. When I ask you to listen and you tell me I shouldn't feel that way, you're trampling on my feelings. When I ask you to listen and you think you have to say or do something to solve my problems, you have failed me, strange as that may seem. Listen. All I ask is that you listen. Not say or do, just hear me. Because when you do something for me that I can and need to do for myself, you contribute to my fear and inadequacy. And I can do for myself. I'm not helpless, maybe faltering and discouraged, not helpless. But when you accept for a fact that I do feel what I feel no matter how irrational, then I stop trying to convince you and get about the business of finding out what's behind this irrational feeling. And when that's clear, I don't need advice. So, please listen and hear me. And if you want to talk, wait for your turn, and I'll listen to you. Now, I have recited that poem to dozens of kids who don't listen real good, trust me. And in this book, the book is about that, the poem is in the book. And it's, as I said, narrated by a 10-year-old. And it's a perfect thing to read to any grandkid who's between the age of 7 and 11, trust me, and to discuss it. Not just to read it to them, get them out there and read it to them, but to talk about what's going on here. Do you know anybody that really listens to you? Marvelous times between a grandparent and a kid. All right? Okay, so moving on. I told a friend of mine that I was going to be doing a story today where memory was required, a little bit of memory was required. And he said, oh, gosh, that's interesting. I really started to be worried about my memory. And I said, you're worried about what? And he said, what did you say? Fine. That's just a little levity there. He's not here today. I probably forgot. But anyhow, this is called the Congo Boy. Thank you very much. And it's called the Congo Boy. And you're not going to learn a lot about the Congo here. Right? You're not going to learn a lot about Congo drumming either. I use this with kids. And because they love drums and they get really into it when they hear a drum. As a matter of fact, one time I had 12 of these kids, each with a drum. And that was my lesson. I had them around with the drum. They all got to play the drum with a pattern with me for about 5 minutes, and then I had their attention. So it works. The Congo Boy. Well, once upon a time, before time was digital and worn on the wrists of men and women, that time, there was a boy called the Congo Boy. And you know what the Congo Boy wanted more than anything else in the whole world? Well, he didn't want a new video game. He didn't want a new iPhone. What he wanted was to have a spear, just like his father's spear. His father was a hunter and a warrior. Congo Boy wanted to help out the family. And one day he says to his father, Dad, I'm getting older now. Can I go hunting with you? And his father said, no, my son, you cannot go hunting with me. Not until you have a spear of your own. How was the Congo Boy going to get a spear of his own? He couldn't buy one. And he knew that, you're supposed to earn a spear anyhow. He had no idea how to do that. And so he said, well, what am I going to do in the meantime, Dad? And he said, well, son, until you have a spear of your own, you have to milk the old white cow and gather mealies in the mealie patch. The mealies are corn. Congo Boy said, okay. That was no problem for him. And so one day, when he was gathering mealies in the mealie patch, he found a root that he knew was real good to eat. And he took it to his mother and he said, Mother, will you cook this root for me? And she said, oh, certainly, my son. Certainly I'll cook it for you. And when the Congo Boy came back that day to get the root that he knew was good to eat, he said, Mom, where's the root that I gave you to cook for me? And she said, sorry, son, but your little brother ate it. But because he ate it, I'm going to give you something nice. I'm going to give you a new pot. The Congo Boy had to milk the old white cow, and the pot they had was broken, handles broken. So he was delighted. He was really pleased. It was easy to please. Is to get a new pot for milking the old white cow. And so then off he went. We don't know where that cow went. It should stay close to home, because in the Congo there are animals that are dangerous. But the Congo boy, he went up, find that old white cow. He had to go. He was a little worried about going out there because, the Congo is like an ocean. It's like an ocean when you go. It's like an ocean for a river. So, it is said that a river, upon before entering the ocean, trembles with fear. A river, before entering the ocean, trembles with fear. It looks at the path it has traveled, from the peaks of the mountains, through the long winding road, through the forests and villages. And now in front of it is an ocean, is a sea so vast that it seems upon entering it is to disappear forever. But there's no other way. There's no other way. The river cannot go back. Nobody can go back. Not you, not me. Nobody can go back. To go back is impossible in existence. So, the river had no other choice. It had to take the risk of entering the ocean. But that's where the fear will disappear. Because that's when the river will know. It's not about disappearing in the ocean. It's about becoming the ocean. So here we have the Congo Boy. He's headed off to find that old white cow. And where he's going is like an ocean to him. He's scared. He's a little scared. But he's driven by the need of his little brother and sister. He lives with his little brother and sister, his mother and father. He's driven by their need for milk. They have to have milk. So he goes, and he does it. Well, pretty soon, hasn't gone very far, Hasn't gone very far, and he comes across two boys. And these two boys are milking a goat, and they have a broken pot. And the Congo boy says, "Oh, why are you trying to milk a goat with a broken pot? Here, take my pot. But remember, I shall want it when I return." Now I'm going to need some help here. Sandy. I'm going to, because when the Congo boy takes off, and he says, "Off he went." When we hear "off he went," in the Congo, sometimes on the ankles of people, there are sort of bells, things that make a little noise so that you're going through. It's sort of like a bear bell, right? When you're on the bush, to alert the animals that you're there, so you don't surprise them. So I need somebody to help me with making that sound, because we're going to hear that again. You're going to hear me say, "Off you went." And I just need somebody to do that. It's not really difficult. All you have to remember is when to do it. All right? And I'm going to tell you, because I will say, "Off he went." So who's going to volunteer to do that? Well, look at all the enthusiasm here. All the brave people in this room. Amazing. Well, she's going to need some help. Okay, this is not really Congo stuff, right? Okay, because this is Mexico. But it does work the same thing. Like coffee. Another person to do that? Okay.
Oh, wow, you actually voluntarily put your hand up.
Sure. If you volunteer, we're going to give you another sandwich. Another person. Yeah, get one of the easier jobs, okay? That's the smart thing. So off you went. Find the old white cow. Where are you? Yeah. Starting to worry a little bit. Getting further afield. Onto the savannah. Out the open. Pretty scary out there. It's like an ocean. Well, he had no sooner gone than and the two boys who were milking, they got really going on milking that cow. And then suddenly one of them hit the pot with his knee, and it broke. Now, guess what? We don't need people to make the sound of that breaking sound, because things break in this story. That's all. And it broke. The only thing you have to do is remember when I say, and it, that you anticipate that, and you go, broke. Who's going to do that for us? Come on, we got to have you. You know, you guys who were sitting there thinking, I don't know. You're all going to be doing something. So, all right, this is interactive storytelling. Storytelling is interactive. It's not just me up here. Okay?
I'm doing something, I'm listening.
I'm going to get you to do something else besides listen. Because you've got African experience. It broke. Who else is going to do this? And it broke. Thank you, dear. Good. All right. Try it out. Right. Give it a good whack. Okay. I'm sorry, Congo Boy, but it... Good. All right. This is a good group. But because it broke, we're going to give you a brand new knife. Ooh, knife. Well, the Congo Boy had never seen a real steel knife before. What he always used was a piece of bone, you know, that you sort of chisel down and it gets sharp. But this was a real knife. And he was very excited. He was so pleased. He thought he was gifted by the gods. Really. Gifted by the gods. That heaven thought was looking down on him. So he took that knife and off he went. All right. So I go right cow, right? Well, by and by, he came across two girls who were skinning an animal with a piece of broken bone. And he looked at that and he said, oh my gosh, that's got to be so hard. Why don't you use my brand new knife? And he gave them the knife. And then he said, but remember, I'll want it when I return. Then off he went. Where was he going? Might go like cow, right? Okay. Well, those two girls, they made really good use of that real knife. And they had almost skinned that whole animal when suddenly the one with the knife hit a bone and it... Exactly. And the Congo Boy said, where's the knife? The knife the two boys gave me? The two boys who broke the pot? The pot my mother gave me when my little brother ate the root. Okay, you guys who didn't volunteer earlier, now you're stuck. Because you have to help me recite that, okay? So here it goes. It's just a couple of whens, where, what, okay? Where is the knife? Say that with me, everybody.
Where is the knife?
The knife the two boys gave me. The knife the two girls gave me. The two girls who broke... There we go. Let me... Okay, so I did that on purpose so that you wouldn't feel bad, okay? So, where is the knife? The knife the two boys gave me, the two boys who broke the pot my mother gave me when my little brother ate the root I found in the that. Let's try it again. Where is the knife? Where is the knife?
Where is the knife that the two girls
The
gave
knife the two
girls?
The two girls gave me.
Girls.
The two girls who
broke the pot.
The pot my mother gave me when my little brother ate the root. The root I found in the mealy patch. Okay, yeah. All right. And they said, of course, sorry we can't do it because it. Sorry? Because it.
Broke.
Thank you. But because it broke, we were going to give you this. And they handed him a blanket, an African blanket, colorful, beautiful blanket. Now, the Congo Boy, I've never seen a blanket like that. And he was so excited to have that blanket. And know where he's going? Where's he going?
Find a cow.
To find the old white cow. He's starting to worry about that cow now. And he was starting to get a little scared too because he's like, well, okay. Right. By and by, he came across two men. And they had been hunting, but they hadn't caught anything. And they were exhausted. And they were lying down on the ground trying to get a few Z's. And Congo Boy looked at them and he took pity on them and he said, "Oh, why are you lying on the ground like that without a blanket? Here, take my blanket. But remember, I shall want it when I return." And then off he went. I think this is the best room I've ever had. You got them right there, right on you. Well, he's no longer gone when these two guys, because they were so exhausted. They were trying to get some sleep, but it was not a big blanket, and they started to tug back and forth with the blanket. And pretty soon what happened, you can imagine what happened. Pretty soon it, what? No, blankets don't break. But good try. Good try. It ripped, right? It ripped. Okay, rippers, a couple of rippers. Who hasn't got anything yet? We don't want to leave anybody out. Any other rippers? Sandy, could you pass that there? Now, but because we're going to give you, and they held up a shield, a tortoise-shell shield. Holy smokes, you can't get much closer to being a warrior than to have a shield of your own. Congo Boy couldn't believe his good fortune. Why is it, that, you ever thought about that? Why is it that some people seem to be blessed or gifted or graced from above more than others? You ever thought about why?
Yeah.
I remember when I was in second year university, I came across these lines, and I knew I had to memorize them. And I was too young to know what that meant or why it was important, but I remember this one. It says, "Heaven, who knows better than you what you are, or what we are, measures men's favors, gifts from on high, by their merits. And you would have received the benefit of such aid from heaven, grace, had it been able to find in you the virtues it found in him. These gifts from on high are rare and singular, and do not descend for vulgar souls." Obviously, Congo Boy is not a vulgar soul. He is special. He's thinking about his little brother and his sister, his mom and his dad, wants to be a provider, all that kind of stuff. He's brave. He's willing to go out into that vast ocean. He knows he can't go back, right? So, I will repeat that. If I see you again in the fall, I'm going to tell a story called Milk from a Bull's Horn. I'll repeat that, because it's very important. So anyhow, they said, "I'm sorry, Congo Boy, I can't give you the blanket because but because we're going to give you a brand new shield." So no sooner had the Congo Boy taken his shield, and off he went. He was gone. No sooner had he gone than the two guys with the shield heard a lion, what they thought was a lion, in the bush, and they ran after it. And before you know it, one of them with the Congo Boy's shield, with the shield that Congo Boy's going to have, tripped, and when the Congo Boy came back, he said, "Where's the shield? Where is the shield? Let's start with the blanket. Where's the blanket? I think we got to go to the blanket. Where's the blanket? The blanket the two girls gave me. The two girls who
Broke
broke the knife,
No, broke the
Two.
punch.
no, they broke the knife. They broke the knife, the knife the two boys gave me. What two boys?
Broke the pot.
The two boys who broke the pot. What pot? The pot my mother gave me when? When my little brother ate,
Ate the root.
what root?
Root.
Root I found in the mealy patch, and they said, sorry, we can't do it. Okay, so then, but the other one gave him a shield anyhow. And then off he went, to find the old white cow. Now, wasn't long before he came across two other men, and they were hunters. They had, one of them had a shield, the other did not have a shield, but they both had spears. And they were hunting a rogue lion, and that had attacked somebody in their village. And the Congo Boy said, well, you can't do that without both of you having a shield, so here, why don't you take my shield? And he had that shield, next second shield, so he gave it to the other hunter. And this hunter, and the other hunter, as soon as off he went, as soon as he was gone, they heard this other lion, and they knew it was the rogue lion, and they began to chase it. And before long, the guy with one of them with the other shield, he fell down, and it broke. It broke. And then guess what? Well, of course, that's when the Congo Boy comes back. Congo Boy came back. The Congo Boy came back. I can't do this without your help. So, because this is very hard, you have to memorize a lot. So, Congo Boy came back, and he said, oh, where's the shield? Where's the shield? The two men gave me. And they said,
It broke.
sorry, Congo Boy, but because it broke, we're going to give you this. And one of them handed them a shield. I'm not a shield, a spear. A spear. Well, the Congo Boy could not believe this. He could, this is a spear for me. And he just was so excited. And he took that spear, and off he went. Get that old white cow. He's going home. He had to show that to his mom and his little brother and his little sister. Look back. And he got home, and he was showing his spear to his family. And just then his dad came back. And his dad looked at that spear and he said, now, my son, you can go hunting with me. And together they went. And then his mom, when they were gone, his mom looked at his little brother and said, guess what you're doing from now on? What? You're milking the old white cow. And you know, the funny thing was that cow had never wandered off. It was behind the hut, you know, in the grass, deep grass all the time. It wasn't crazy. It wasn't going to go out there in that jungle. But there he was, and the little brother said, okay, that's fine. Because he knew that one day he would get a spear of his own. That's the story. Okay, try this with me. Where is the shield? The shield the two men gave me. The two men who ripped the blanket the two girls gave me. The two girls who broke the knife the two boys gave me. The two boys who broke the pot my mother gave me when my little brother ate the root I found in the mealy patch. I'm sorry, they said, we can't, but we're going to give you a spear. So, questions, comments?
It's a good story.
Yes, very nice.
Very inspiring.
Yeah. You know, all of these stories have something to do with real life.
Yep.
And we're all on this journey from from the river to the ocean, you know, we have all these tests and trials and things through there. So when you tell a story like that, when you tell it with a bunch of kids, you know, it's amazing sometimes what kind of feedback you get from them, what that reminds them of and how it tweaks in with them. So that's that story. Anybody else? Anybody? No?
Yeah, this would be like a comparison to the First Nations, how they also teach their young by telling them stories and symbolism and things that involve learning in that way.
Yeah, right. It is. Storytelling is so important. Yes.
Fairy tales. Einstein once said, if you want your child to be smart, read them fairy songs. If you want them to be smarter, read them more fairy tales.
You know, I'll tell you, in 1980, there were, that's when the first men's movement started, 1980. I was teaching in Kettle Valley. And a couple of counselors I was teaching with said, you know, these two storytellers are telling stories in Tacoma, Washington. Let's go down. So we drove down to this event. Robert Bly and Michael Meade. Robert Bly was a famous poet, Michael Meade was a famous storyteller. And their stories were directed at men, because men, you know, were having a lot of problems with their identity in those days, and it was a kind of a crisis moment for them. And so this room was full of men, and a lot of these men were veterans of the Vietnam War. And at a certain point, Michael Meade did a little African chant, and it was a grieving chant. It was a chant, and he introduced it by saying, you know, this chant is to grieve for all of the people you've lost in your life, all of the things you regret in your life, and you haven't had a chance to fully, because men don't emote, you haven't had a chance to get those off your chest, out of your heart. And so we all chanted this with Michael Meade, and took about 2 minutes, and then every eye was wet. They were crying. All these men, ardent men, who had been in the war in Vietnam, were crying, and uncontrollably, because all of the stuff that they kept inside was now, they had permission to get it out. And in a safe place with other men, you know, they didn't have to worry about that being called a sissy or whatever. And I was crying. I couldn't stop. And a friend came up to me, put his arm around me, and he was sobbing as well. And I said, you know, after that meeting, I said, when I went back, I said, from now on, I'm not just going to write, I'm going to tell stories. You have to tell stories. And I've been doing it ever since. Well, I'm finished. I want to thank you all for being here today, for getting involved with me and being such brave people by joining me. Yes, ma'am.
Your contribution also helped us listen, of course, and remember.
Yeah, that's right. And
you'll be cognizant of what we're doing.
it is so important to practice memory all the time, you know, to memorize a poem or memorize a story or something and to tell it.
It brings back events.
Yeah.
Experience.
Yeah, that's what makes us human, is sharing relationships, right? What makes us human, sharing with each other. Thank you. Thank you again.
Good story.
Oh, okay. And by the way, this book up here, in case you want one of those, that lady will sell you one for $20. I'll sign it for you if you want. And it's about stories, about listening, as I said.
A lot of stories or about listening?
Well, the stories all have to do with listening. It's me talking to old cards while I was writing a column for the Maple Ridge News. And the second half is, like I said, this 10-year-old boy narrating the adventures of Calamity Jane, the last voyage of Calamity Jane. And on the road, they meet a whole bunch of people who need people to listen to them. And they listen to them. And that poem I read you at the beginning is in there. It's not about cars. It's about people and the importance of listening. Okay. Thank you.
Stories come alive each page. Words that dance across the stage in a kingdom far away. magic happens every day. Tell stories, write the dreams. In between the lines they sing. Every chapter, every scene. Life's a tale we're living